Your soul's journey. What does it entail? What did your soul decide to experience throughout each and every incarnation that would cause it to just infinitely grow and blossom into its fullest self? Well, I'm here to share, not just from my own experience, but the beautiful picture that I've been gifted with to show you that as you go through your soul's journey, you are going to experience many difficult and many beautiful experiences that are simply here to nurture your soul into its purest essence. And as we begin to go forward, let's just separate some of these experiences to show you that, wow, it is never about the experience. It is truly about the evolution of your soul. So let's first start with one of these great features, that the number one thing that you are here to experience. It's truth. Now, what is your truth? Is your truth that you were born, let's say you were born in Cancun, Mexico. You were born to the parents of Hepatide and Mauricia. You were 8 pounds, 5 ounces when you were born. When you came out, you cried for about 5 minutes until you received the nourishment of your mother's milk. Now, is that, in fact, part of your truth? And as you begin to grow, you decided, wow, I want to be a painter. Now, you may have experienced certain features growing up. Your parents calling you. Maybe times when you lied to them. Maybe times when you didn't do well at school, calling you certain names like, oh, you're dumb. Now, the reasoning for showing you all of that is to say, is that indeed your truth? Now, truth is in fact subjective when we begin to look at it from a reasoning mind. But truth, in fact, is anything that you as a person just imagine in your own soul's essence. So is your truth now that you're beginning to see a greater feature of life itself? That, wow, this life that I've been experiencing is nothing in truth and in fact of who I am and what I'm here to do. Now, the point of showing you all of these examples is just to show you that you get to decide your own truth. Whether you decide that, wow, I'm just never gonna become what I ideally want to become. So as I take you back, if you tell yourself, no, I can't be this great painter that I want to be, in fact, you creating your truth. Now it's to show you the correlation of when others, from their own opinions, give you certain ideal, quote-unquote, aspects of yourself. Do you hold on to it as your truth? Do you begin to see whether it's that you're giving a compliment like you're beautiful, you're smart, you're dumb, you're such an ungrateful, selfish person. You now have to see that the reflections that you see is indeed causing your souls to grow. For every insult, every criticism, every compliment that you receive, your soul, in fact, is being given a chance to truly come into form of its own creation story of its identity and form. What is it that you would like your truth to be? Now you get to paint that beautiful picture and write your story. So this is one of the many components of your soul's journey, is to find your own internal truth from within. Now, another big component of your soul's journey is the trust factor. Wow, this great word, what does it mean to have this trust factor? Now, you may have been put in many situations. Oftentimes, we look at the word trust and we see it as, the word trust is to just have that great, like we have that great belief that we could, not just achieve something within ourselves, but the trust factor towards others, to have that common unity, like, wow, can I trust you with a secret? Can I trust you if I give you something to, let's say you said, okay, let me give you this great necklace that is really, like something that means so much to me. Can I trust you if I'm going away for about a week to just hold on to it for me? Can I trust you with just like being there for me when I need you? Now, you see that the feature of trust has been put outside of ourselves to say, wow, we're putting that trust factor in others. But now we begin to see that, our soul's journey and the trust that we have, because we have to all commune with each other, is really in fact more about ourselves. Now I'll share this personal story of my own journey of trust, and maybe having to learn that the trust that I had to develop for others was more about my own internal journey of trusting within me, and more so healing certain past life shifts that I had, where trust was a big part of my experience. So I remember being, maybe, I would say I'm roughly around 5 years old. And of course, my parents at the time, we had gone to the town on the island that I was born on. And I was just excited to get away. I'm not sure if we had a break from school. We had went into my grandmother's home. She lived in the city. And so I love mangoes, nice juicy mangoes. When you come from the islands, we have so much of an abundance of mangoes. Me being a kid, I just love, just in my own state of pleasure, just experiencing eating that nice juicy mangoes. And so I remember seeing an older guy, roughly in his 20s, passing on the street with a nice, delicious long mangoes that I loved so much at that time. So I just remember my parents had given me about $20 just as a little form of allowance. And so I called the guy, I was of course with another elderly woman that my grandmother was taking care of. She was roughly in her 90s. She could still understand stuff, but she was in her own state of reasoning. So we there sitting on our porch, we call over this guy and we're like, can we have some mango? So there he goes saying like, you know what? I'm gonna sell this bag of mangoes for you for about $5. So me giving him that $20, the only stuff that I had, my parents had gone out. So there lies the trust feature. Me being only 5 years old, he stated to me, I'm gonna go to the shop and I will bring back your change at the time. Me paying him this exchange right now. It's $5, I give him 20, so I should get back a $15 in change. So of course, 1 minute goes, no sign of this guy. Of course, I had my juicy mangoes. I was getting ready to take a plate and start enjoying it. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5, 10, 30 minutes, an hour. No sign of this guy. And so I begin to tell, everybody, and, person that my grandmother, I shared with her, and she's like, wow, you need to get your parents and your grandmother and let them know what's going on. So I couldn't wait, within an hour. I remember my dad and my mom came, and, of course, I told them, and they went across where I told them the shop that the guy said he was going to look for the guy. No sign of the guy. So you see here, this was the first broken part of trust that I had. And so it made me lose the trust faith, especially when it comes to strangers. Like, can I really, I'm gifting you with, this exchange of money, for a fruit that I enjoy, and you basically just stole my money. So I remember growing up for a very long time, especially when it came to money. If I have to give somebody money and they have to give me back in return, that, great feeling just always arose within me. If I borrow somebody this money or I borrow them something, will they return it to me? Because I had this, experience from my inner child's essence that made me lose that trust factor, especially when it came to strangers. So in this very present moment, what I had to see was that regardless of what anyone else does, when they show you signs and traits of you not being able to trust them, yes, that person has their own trust journey to go through, but it's more about you coming into the full soul's essence, that whatever experience that you have, even in that moment, as I'm looking back, saying that yes, I quote unquote couldn't trust that guy to say, I'm gifting you with this money and you're gonna come up. But let's take it back further. It was to show my soul that I'm creating this experience for you to learn how to trust yourself. That yes, you had this experience, but maybe in my own trust stage I could have said, you know what, that guy took that thing. It wasn't for me to hold on to. It was for me to move forward in my journey to say, wow, I could always get back more money. And so as I delved back into one of my own past lives, and I could see that I too had an experience, or many experiences, should I say, where the trust factor in others had been broken. And so in this incarnation, I had probably decided from my soul's journey to say, like, wow, I'm gonna have to experience many experiences in others to not just see that, okay, just because, you experience this trait of loss of trust in others, that others may have, been not so trustworthy, that you could still build that trust within yourself to say, like, wow, you're an overflow feature of dynamic abundance all around. That even if you lose that trust, it could be monetary, it could just be in trust where you share information with others. Most people could say if you have a best friend, you share a secret. It's simply an experience, but it's more about the journey of trusting yourself. It's more about saying, like, wow, especially for many of us right now, as we go through this great shift and era, we could tell ourselves, like, wow, we're in this great stage where maybe we cannot see the other side. Whether it's, through just the healing phase of, will I ever be able to be fully healed from this, be it be physical, mental, or emotional experience that I'm going through, financial, difficulties, just this great shift that we're going on of everything that's surrounding us through our experiences, will we be able to take ourselves to the next stage of our evolution? And no matter what the experience is, can we trust ourselves to put one foot, literally walking one foot in front of the other, and have that trust factor and say that as a multi-dimensional being, I could reimagine and recreate and re-experience everything. So for me, that was a very powerful lesson, of healing those trust issues and going forward and saying that trust has to begin from within. Now, another dynamic feature that we see that we are now all going through throughout our soul's journey is the fear feature. News reports surfacing everywhere. There's war, there's increasing crime, increasing food, gas prices, like so many different things. Our financial system is going down. What are we to do? Many people being sick, dying. The fear frequency is on a rise. Now, you as a person, maybe you're just fearful of loss. You know, most of us, just in our abundance nature, we don't like feeling like we lose something. So whether it's a physical thing, like you lose, let's just say, your favorite bag, you lose maybe in physical form a family member, you lose money, you lose maybe a home, you lose a car, you lose, the fear frequency comes. And most of all, many of us have fears. Let's say, oh, I should say phobia. Some people, they're scared of certain animals. Like this morning I was walking, and upon looking down at the left, what do I see? A brown and black little mini snake. Now, the first thing is like, I just think my feet just had a little leap. Like, wow, is it moving? Is it alive? So as much as I've grown a lot when it comes to fear and just, seeing that I'm becoming more and more fearless. But my instant instinct is just that, wow, is it alive? Because, the conditioning is that whether it's a big snake or a little snake, we have this fear feature, is it gonna bite us? Is it gonna hurt us? So instantly. And then of course I just see it lying there still, so I knew that it had passed on. But this was like a signal and a message to me to see like, wow, we have these internal features within us that we let ourselves get fearful for next to nothing. And of course the feature of fear just caused this instantaneous reaction of anxiety and panic that we have nothing to fear. We've lived so many lifetimes, been through wars, been through farming, been through so many great shifts that what are we here to fear? We have to now be able to recreate our story. You're scared of heights. Maybe one day you climb up a mountain and you look down and you learn to, you're scared of flying. You take a flight. I know it's easier said than done, but you take baby steps, You may be scared of, like I said, a snake. And you just maybe one day you go somewhere, whether it's in a zoo or you see many times you go to certain places and there's these people with these snakes. And I remember being in Mexico and there was like this big green lizard that someone had and they wanted me to take a picture. And at first, I guess a little bit of fear sneaked in, like, is it gonna sting me or whatever? And the person just calmed me down and they're like, just tap it on this particular area of its back and it's very calm. And as I did that, I connected with it, I think on a soul to soul level. And the fear was totally gone. So we begin to see that a very big part, I think, for each and every one of us is the eliminating this fear feature, because we create it's an fear. If you break down in the syllable, is false evidence appearing real. So the conditioning that we've been receiving and we've been like, okay, if you do certain things or if you go here, most times I believe from just my own little intuitive nature is that fear is something, if not as a child we experience or we were told. Let's say you're a child and like I spoke about the whole snake. I remember actually my father had a snake and I think maybe just that whole fear thing came up from maybe just him having that snake, and maybe as a little girl he's probably put it in my head that if you touch the snake is gonna bite you. So I'm using my own story to just shed light on certain ways of how we could create our own story and images of fear. Maybe it could have been like even in your past life, like as I used the example of trust earlier, I had deep trust issues from past life where, maybe I was betrayed, and, I came into this life from a very young age, re-experiencing that same, betrayal of trust. And so I carried it on throughout my life, and holding on to that, to saying I can't trust and any little thing, even though yes I experience it, but I'm beginning to see like, wow, no matter what experience, what others do, they say, or they create their own illusionary features, it's more about your own growth. So now I begin to see that the fearless nature within all of us is oozing to come out. It's such a burst of joy. We begin to see that we have to eliminate this fearfulness of anything and any experience within the entire course of our soul's journey. Next, a big part is forgiveness. Now, the forgiveness, I will begin to show you examples of how it intertwines with other parts of it. Have you been totally betrayed? Which betrayal is another feature of it. Or have you, as we begin to see, been manipulated? We begin to see, I'm laughing because even just thinking of it, it seems so simple. But let's just all go with this story. A simple thing of manipulation is from the time we were young. We were told that there's a Santa Claus living on the North Pole with all his little, deers and elves. Now, is that a story of manipulation just through whoever created it, and all little kids around Christmas time wanting to, see Santa on Santa's Eve coming down the chimney? Now, of course, it's a lie. We know that there's no Santa. We just created it for kids to have more fun. But we begin to see how the forgiveness, the betrayal, and the manipulation stories that we're now living so rampantly on this earth is a big part of our soul's journey. Now, betrayal. Have you ever been betrayed by anybody? A friend, a family, a stranger, somebody you work with, your kids, your husband, your wife, your parents, siblings, brothers, cousins, just anybody. And betrayal could be like, I could use this example where for many people, we see that in betrayal, especially when we think of spouses, someone cheats on the other person, and of course the other partner is completely like just taken out. Like, wow, how could this person betray me in that way and cheat? How could that person maybe lie, like make up a story and say, oh, this person stole from me, or this person, they're on drugs, or this person, they cheated on me, when in fact it's not the truth. Now let's interconnect it with manipulation. Have you been, like, we could see many examples, but I want to connect it on a one-on-one basis. Let's say you meet somebody, right? You don't know them too well, and they present themselves to you as somebody. So first of all, you just meet somebody randomly in the supermarket and they said, I'm John. I live, maybe 2 blocks down the road. I'm this great, salesman, and, I could help you out. You're trying to get a new home. Maybe I know somebody, that could give you a deal. Now the trust factor has to come within it, truth. You see that everything is gonna be connected as I continue to share this soul's journey. Now, you begin to see later on that upon going through the process of trying to buy a home, one, that person has manipulated you. That person is not only giving out their name, that alias name that they've created for themselves, because they want to live in disguise. John is just an alias name. It's not their true birth name, or at least the name that they're carrying legally. they're definitely not, you know, somebody who's in the sales and real estate feature. They're just in disguise, doing it under the disguise. They're not presenting themselves in their truest form. So one, you were manipulated, you were betrayed, and of course now the forgiveness factor has to come along. Do you hold on to that grudge and that pain of saying like, wow, not only did that person lie about who they are, you know, they betrayed me in the sense that they are now, you know, wanting to take my money. You know, maybe you, let's say you had gone through it, they took your money and ran away, flew out of the country, and there you lost, let's say the home was about $350,000. Your life savings, you sold a home and you are gonna invest in a new home. Now the forgiveness factor comes. The forgiveness, first of all, you have to realize it's more about you. Forgiving yourselves, you know, not just as people could say, like, you know, you're being gullible or silly or whatever. You put your whole trust because that's what you're here to experience. But to tell yourself, like, wow, you don't hold on to that energy that that person has presented to. You first forgive yourself for going through that experience and saying like, wow. Most of the times when we engage with people, we have so many different feelings, sensations that arises within us. Did you have that gut feeling about that person when you were talking to them? And just because you were so excited and the story they presented to you, you wanted to sell your home. And of course you went. Now you have to now paint a picture where even though it's not a physical exchange where you're telling that person, I forgive you, you have to put out the intention of forgiving them. But most of all, you have to forgive yourself of calling, maybe you started calling yourself stupid and gullible, and how could I trust you? You see, it's more about forgiving yourself. When you go through certain experiences that makes you feel lower than yourself, like, wow, I wasn't in my highest form. You see, your human nature self, your higher self is coming down within you to say, like, as this human vessel, go through this experience to learn and grow, you know, because without it, your soul is not going to evolve. Now, this great topic of manipulation, I want to shed light on it. There's a lot of mind manipulation going on, as I've stated before, through telepathy, you know, and we have to begin to, on an intuitive level, begin to see what's misguided, confused messages and what's true, because there's a huge agenda to kind of sort of like on a spiritual level create this thing where from certain, you know, breeds and you know, people on a lower vibrational frequency, you see, like, I'm gonna be in disguise, the same manipulative tactic to say like, wow, I'm creating myself as a certain guide, you know, of a higher essence to come forward in that person's mental mind through telepathy and, you know, confuse them, give them false narratives of what's going on. And we have to be discerning. We have to go with our feeling sensations. That's why we have a strong sense of feeling. You know, we were gifted the sense of feeling from birth, that on a non-physical level, we have our sight, we have our smell, we have our taste, we have our hearing, feeling and touch sensations to tell us like, wow, how does your body feel? Because before we can experience anything in physical, it has to go through our energetic body. And the energetic body always feels stuff strong. So begin to see that, you know, on this great topic as I merge all three. Manipulation, betrayal, and forgiveness. They go hand in hand together to see that, wow, as painful as it sometimes is, it's more about forgiving yourself. It's more about seeing that this person, you know, their soul has to go through its own journey. And It's not about trying to save other people. As much as we all want to come together collectively, that person's soul has to go through so much learning. It's not about wishing bad and karma from a negative perspective. As we see, karma is both positive and negative towards the other person. It's more about saying, like, that person, by taking certain actions, using manipulation, doing stuff on a betrayal level, lies, and not telling the truth. That person's soul has to be taken through its own journey. Maybe not in this lifetime, but in another lifetime, they could learn and evolve. So it's so important to learn to forgive yourselves. It's more about your own self rather than others. As I say, we're simply characters in this human story. Take yourself of that character and recreate it. Next, we begin to see that just version of unlimitedness. As I said, we're multi-dimensional beings now, being able to travel within time and space through astral bodies into the past and into the future, into the present moment. We see how unlimited we are. We see that we only know a little spectrum of what's going on in this part of our universe. Now, when we begin to connect not just with our higher selves or guides and so many other features just living up, we begin to see that, wow, as I said, the spirit truly never dies. We have to be able to learn to evolve through our unlimited nature. Now, the word limited has been something that we've all been going through. As I had mentioned before, we see that on an astrological level, we have to experience certain lessons through, many astrologers would say through the planet Saturn, which is a great part in our universe that, I see it as being a very integral factor in taking us through this next year. But we have in this 3D world, in order to remain just in this status quo way of living, we had to live in a limited form, limited beliefs, limited stories. But now as we get to it, we're truly seeing just how limited we truly are. Through our own levels of consciousness, through our own creative essence of recreating our story, through our just, living and breathing, just think of the air component, how in its formless nature, all within the earth, and the gaseous components all over the universe making up matter, just how unlimited it is. That is how we are, truly, in our purest nature. So begin to see that nothing, no experience can limit you. Like I say, what we're going through right now is just a pivot to the next stage. Don't question when, don't question why. Just say that it's so much growth. Let's say, right, throughout this great shift, you lost friends, just on a level of, you no longer are friends with certain people that you used to be so close to. Because you guys don't share the same beliefs. Or, you no longer live in a certain area. Your friends, family, you have to now tell yourself, like, you're connecting with so many others. Features and guides from other planets, other universes. You're now deeply connected with Mother Earth and the trees and all the living organisms within you. You could actually understand, just like the messages of love coming from all the animals within you. You could understand the message. You could understand, like the ocean just birthing forth and creating waves. You could understand so much. So it's to show you that it's not just about saying, like, you have to see it to believe it. You have to use scientific predictions from previous scientists that have come. Remember, you're in your own discovery stage. So just see how limitless you are. And we begin to see, like I just mentioned, on the astrological level, all the planets are now being aligned from from Uranus showing us, our dynamic feature of this light essence and higher present, to connecting it with Neptune, the dream planet of recreating your dream, to transforming the Earth, Pluto, eliminating the dark feature that resided, the underground tunnels and railroads and, disguisement that have been, to truly transform on an intense level. To now seeing the expansion and joy of great Jupiter as it just gives us that higher essence and nature. To seeing that Mars has been, put down to being something that is not, divine masculine planet all about wars. We have to learn to eliminate the war that's going on within us on our own beliefs and discrediting our own selves, eliminating the stuff that goes on in our mental and emotional body as we learn to let go of it. The planet Venus being that Venusian love and beauty, harmony, essence all around us. We begin to see that Mercury being this great messenger and just being able to recreate the story of all our lives. We begin to see that, wow, in our little Milky Way galaxy, we're gonna be able to connect with so much more outside of it, that we truly live in an unlimited universe. Now let's just say, another big feature that we're all experiencing is the sacredness of our soul. What does sacredness mean to you? Sacredness on a level of just an interconnectedness of purity and pureness within yourself, to the higher consciousness, to the supreme creator that connects us all together as organisms within us and everything around us. What does it mean to be sacred? Well, many times we connected, to religious stuff, but the sacredness that we all have to relate to now is the sacredness of who we are, who we were birthed to be, just universal vessels that through a state of consciousness is truly pure and wholesome within ourselves, that we truly are indeed on a path as we go through our evolution to become our most sacred selves. Everything can be recreated and transformed into its pure wholesomeness, regardless of how bad it looks on the outside. Regardless of, as I have noted before, we can often regenerate ourselves. So whether, you have a disease, you have an ailment, you have a mental or emotional stuff that depletes you, know that you can always recreate it and bring it back to its purest sacredness. And you learn to recreate your story, call back all of your soul's essence, because you are in fact sacred. Now another big part of our soul's journey, as we begin to see, is just the experience of great harmony. Now we always want to experience harmony with others. From the time we're in, let's say, kindergarten, we go to school, we learn nursery rhymes, we sing, we're in play mode, and we get to see as our inner child essence that we always want to have a sense of harmony. Oh, that's my friend, that's my best friend. You see, from a young age, we learn to be in harmony with each other. We often express that harmony through great joy and bliss. Whether we're just laughing, we're running, we're talking, we're singing, we're dancing. You see, we're learning to create that great harmony. But the greatest harmony that we have to learn to create is within ourselves. Do we have that inner talking voice of great critic of our own selves, of disbelief, of non-faith, of just like recreating our own stories in our mental and emotional body? What you've been told, as I've said, going back to past lifetimes, the stories that you've experienced, looking at your astrological birth chart and saying like, wow, I may have to experience this great shift. And so, as most people even tend to believe, this is my fate, this is my karma. No. You have to learn to create harmony and balance within yourself and recreate your story. What is the story that you want to share? Now, like I said, it's so many different experiences. Whether it's a painful experience or not, you see the process of transmutation and transformation can be very difficult. But in fact, once you learn to have harmony within your mental body, your emotional body, then that harmony is within you and all around you. Now, certain times your higher selves, your guides, your soul may put you through certain experience where you experience this harmony. You may be, having disharmony with a friend because you had a great argument, like, oh, Corvette cars are the fastest. It could be a simple thing as that, and you disagree. Many are in disagreement because some may believe so much in scientific notions, others connect on a more intuitive nature, and some is on the notion of disbelief, where see it to believe it. That brings forth disharmony. Disharmony in religious perspectives, with how to live your life, with now seeing that nothing is meant to just be like the same. Change is the only constant. Who believes in certain unconventional way of doing it versus traditional conventional? Who believes like I have to smoke weed every day for me to not be in a high, but to help me hallucinate? Some for medicinal stuff, or others just for recreation. You see, like, we begin to see that so many different features. The little dots, I see it as little dots in this great pie on earth, creating this harmony. Who's too loud, who's too quiet, who share different ways of just achieving something. Who believes that I'm dominant and you have to stay this way? And who believes, like most of all, during this great and shift and era, we have to continue living in the same pattern of life, where some are at the top and some are at the bottom. You see, that begins to create disharmony. But as we begin to see, as I could share from my own experience, each and every day I experience disharmony. But I always have to take myself back to that place where, whether it's just a stranger on the street who gives you a very ugly look, to your neighbor across the road, like taking over your land to build a fence when that person in fact know that, that's not where the border meets. Talking about border, to now our politicians always wanting to create a barrier and border with our fellow nations across us. We are all in fact one. We now have to tell ourselves collectively, it's a very hard transition, I know, of harmony, where sometimes we experience these experiences with others, but it's never about them. We constantly have to go back within ourselves and say, are we recreating harmony within us? Are we reliving those inner childhood or past life experiences where someone might say something to you, they might give you a cold shoulder, they might just send negative energy your way, but the joy and bliss essence within you is truly calling you to birth out a new form of your own internal harmony, to say, can I get into a creative state of play? The music that resides within my head, the dance that I want to just dance to the beat of my own creative story, to see like, wow, I get to create this beautiful form of harmony within me that I always get to go back to recreate my story. So this is a huge part. Don't hold on to the dense energy that's all around you. Show a different side of this great picture in this great stage of our evolution. Now another big feature is compassion. Compassion for yourself, compassion for all. As I've used in this example, when you had to learn to forgive someone through just lack of trust, manipulation, and betrayal. Someone who's just like hurting on the inside and maybe they don't know where to release it, to transmute that form of energy. And so you experience great hate and anger. The compassionate spirit that lives within you is calling you forth to show compassion. Through your state of forgiveness, to just show that pure, you see that passion within you to say like, I have great passion for myself and humanity, to just share the higher vibrational features of life, to just reflect it back to the others, because they truly need that compassionate spirit of you. They may just be hurting on the inside and they don't know where to take it out. You send them compassion, and most of all, you send yourself compassion. You give yourself a pat on the back daily for just being able to move forward and recreate your story, regardless of these dense energies of intensity that we're all going through. You remain one within your harmonious self through great state of joy and bliss. And as we get down to the final few experiences of your souls, we begin to see that the love frequency, the love frequency is what truly is life is all about. That universal, unconditional agape love. Once we begin to see that we're wholesome through the deep connection of mental, physical, emotional, spiritual bodies, that divine masculine, divine feminine inner child, we begin to see the essence of unconditional love reflected within us. Now, many are not there. This is just part of the evolution. We're all on different sides of this coin. But when you begin to recognize it within yourself, you have to tell yourself a big part of your soul's journey is to share that. It's to reflect that. It's to show others that, wow, when you are at that stage of your experience, it's such a powerful stage. It's such a beautiful experience that, man, love is such a magnificent thing. When you truly have love for yourself, that you just want everybody to experience it. You want everyone to share that harmonious unity of wholesome love. That's your present and gift to the earth on your soul's evolution. So continue to shine bright through this great stage of your evolution of sharing love. Now, finally, part of my own experience and what I want to share is just recognize it as a divine creative essence. The abundance factor is truly the most powerful thing that resides within us today. That there is truly no loss. The word loss is just simply a figment of our imagination. That you're eating a piece of a pie and it falls down. And yes, that may be a loss to you, but the next day you're regifted a bigger pie. You know, you may have lost certain friends, and then a year from now you have 10 more friends that match your frequency and your vibration. You may have lost a home, and instead of seeing it as a great loss, a year from now you're now rebuilding a brand new home. So get to see that. As I say, the tree may shed many mangoes and leaves throughout its entire life, but it continues to regenerate itself and show us that abundance is truly a picture that resides all around us. That great part of this great shift is to show us that we're not living in scarcity and lack. We're truly creating an abundance universe. When you begin to see that, when one thing is taken away, it's no longer necessary in your life. So when you know, as I could even carry on about, our monetary future, we begin to see this great shift that's going on, and many just trying to hold on to their life, to whatever they perceive that they have as their assets, be it their home, be it their cars, be it their savings in their bank account, be it their job. And we have to see that, wow, as divine creatives, from a higher sense of energy, the love presence, the great harmony of joy and bliss that live within us, all sacredness, the all creating our own truth, learning as I go up and down the list, forgiveness, to get away from, the hurt and pain of betrayal and manipulation, and trust. We begin to see that, wow, all of that is part of going up the ladder and pillar of our great abundance evolutionary journey. For we have been living in a world that was built on a fragmentation, of statuses, and this great pyramid representation that we see all around us, of some being higher at the top and some at the bottom. We begin to see that we're learning to create abundance within, for us to all share and commune on equal nature with our hearts interconnected. That we will continue to regenerate ourselves. We continue to see that as divine creatives, that the paradigm shift of this great abundance has to start from within. Now that we're channeling our great awakening, we can move forward within our present moment to see that, wow, as much as it's been a challenging soul journey, your soul, in fact, engaged with all of these features in life to show you that this is truly about the divine abundance journey that we decided to come here to recreate in this part of our great shift. And as I go within, speaking to my heart, and see that there's so much abundance that our heart just wants to continue to gift us with. As we continue to stand firm and just go forward, knowing that this great shift was very pivotal for us to go through. And as I express great joy through the tears running down my cheeks, I see that the abundance that we're learning to experience from our heart, needing to teach us that our soul is yearning for this great evolution of growth, is learning for us to live in our true, for our most purest nature, that we were living too fragmented, and we are now becoming one with ourselves and each other. So all of you, continue to call forth all of you in your pure wholesomeness, and know that your soul's journey was one that you decided to be incarnated in this lifetime, to just create the most beautiful abundant story here on earth. So continue to work on yourselves daily as you cherish each moment to bring back the wholesome feature in our universe as we collectively come together. Know that it's not the end, but it's just the beginning. I love each and every one of you. I know that this story will end beautifully. So continue to share the magic that lives within